What's going on YouTube? Hope you're doing absolutely amazing. Listen, so this video today is going to be talking about binge eating at night in particular. And I wrote an article on this on my website. I'll put a little picture or something right here. I wrote an article on my website on this topic, and I got a lot of good feedback from people. So I know that everybody learns and takes in content differently. So some people like learning. I'm sorry. I hope everyone likes learning. Some people like audio. Some people like videos. Some people like written word. Everybody's different. So I want to make this into a video format because I think it can not only help people, help reach more people because some people enjoy video over reading something, but also I think that video in the way that I speak sometimes, because I can be very emotional when I speak, I think it can resonate with you that much more. So this video is going to be talking about how to stop, how to overcome, how to help your binge eating at night. So the first and foremost that I'll say is, I'm very well aware that binge eating can be a very multi-layer, multifaceted issue. It's not just one thing, right? So I am not a mental health professional. I am not a therapist. I am nothing like that. I am a fitness and nutrition coach. That is what I do. That is what I help my clients on. That is my scope of practice. Now, within my scope of practice, I've helped dozens of people who overcome their binge eating habits and binge eating at night. And whether it's fix it all together or at least help them binge eat less, I've done many things throughout my coaching career that have helped people with binge eating. So that's why I feel comfortable speaking on what I'm going to speak on today. But I am fully aware that, sometimes there are things outside of my scope of practice, and I'm not ashamed to say that. And I very strongly encourage you, if you have been struggling with binge eating, I very strongly encourage you to, if you have ever thought once ever about going to speak to somebody, going to speak with a therapist, going to see a counselor, anything, I strongly encourage you to do that because, again, with binge eating and especially with the emotional eating and these kind of things, it can be a very multi-layer, multifaceted aspect to it. So if you have ever thought about doing that, I strongly encourage you to go do that. That's first and foremost, and again, just making sure I stay within my scope of practice. Now, with that being said, again, I have coached people for over 4 years now, and I've helped plenty of people with their binge eating habits, with whether it's overeating at night, whether it's certain food groups. I've helped people through this process. So I'm going to speak on the top 5 things I have seen coaching people firsthand, coaching people online with their nutrition/binge eating habits that are going on. So first and foremost, the number one, the biggest thing that happens when it comes to binge eating is the thing that brings about binge eating the most is labeling foods good and bad. This is by far one of probably the pillars of binge eating, because when you label foods good and bad, so for example, you probably think that in the mainstream diet culture media has probably gotten you to think that salads are good and plain chicken and broccoli is good and donuts and pizza and burgers are bad. One's good, one's bad. The reality is it's just food. That's all it is. A salad is very high nutrient dense, and it has high vegetables, and it has a lot of fiber and those kind of things. Great, salad. Burgers are something you enjoy with your friends on 4th of July or when you go out to eat with your spouse. There's different wants and needs for those, but again, they both are just food. That's really all it is. So labeling foods good and bad. Also, on top of that, there's no one food that makes you skinny. There's no one food that makes you fat, because if you want to lose body fat, all you have to do is be in a calorie deficit. Now, of course, you don't want to make all of those calories come from burgers and pasta and cookies and and candy. Yes, of course. I mean, that goes without saying. But that doesn't mean you still can't have burgers in moderation. It doesn't mean you still can't have dessert in moderation. For a fact, one of my online coaching clients, Mary, that I'm going to put right here, Mary had a dessert every single night on her journey to lose 80 pounds. But because she was in a calorie deficit, she was able to lose weight. So no one food inherently makes you fat or unhealthy or any of that. It's all about balance and moderation. And within this fitness space, diet culture world, everybody always wants to be in extremes. You either cut out all your carbs or you go super paleo, or there's all these extremes. Normally, to find the best results, you gotta lie right in the middle, because that's where moderation is, that's where sustainability is. So first and foremost, there are no good and bad foods. And the reason it creates an issue is because when you label something bad, right? What happens next? What happens after you label a food bad? What's going to happen is you're going to restrict yourself from it. So, if you can't have a burger or a pizza or an Oreo, you're going to over restrict yourself from it. Whether it's 4 days, 5 days, 2 weeks, a month, something, whatever happens, you're over restricting yourself from foods, which never is a good idea if you're looking to have things in moderation, right? So, first problem is you're over restricting. Now, what happens when you over restrict? The same thing that happens when you tell your kids, hey, we're going into the store, you're not getting anything, and don't touch anything. What do? They touch everything and they grab 16 different things they want you to buy for them. Same thing's gonna happen with you. When you tell yourself, I can't have this, this is bad, it's going to make you want it that much more. So you're gonna have more cravings for it, you're gonna be thinking about it nonstop, but you can't have it because it's bad, and it creates this very unhealthy relationship with food. So that's number one. Number two, what happens then when you actually end up having that food? Because, for example, if you enjoy a dessert here and there, if you enjoy pizza, if you enjoy a certain food group or whatever, you're going to have that food eventually. Let's be honest. I don't know many people who are going to go the rest of their life without having at least some type of food they enjoy. So what happens when you do have that food? Well, you've over-restricted yourself from having that food for this period of time now. So when you actually end up having that food, two things happen. Number one, you don't have it in moderation because you've been restricting yourself from it this entire time. So when you do have it, what happens? You binge on it. You binge on it because you've restricted yourself from it this entire time. So in your head, you're like, well, I'm going to go back to not being allowed to have this again. So when I do have it, I might as well eat all of it because I'm going to go back to not being able to have it because it's bad. So that makes you binge on it. Also, what happens is when you eat said bad food, what happens in your head? You're like, well, I fucked up. Well, I feel very guilty. Well, I'm ashamed of myself. And you create all these negative thoughts in your head. So what happens then? You're not gonna just get right back on your diet because you're like, well, I fucked up. I might as well just keep going. So the rest of the night, just keep going. Fuck it. I'll just restart on Monday morning. If it's a Friday night, fuck it. I already fucked up. I already had pizza. I screwed up my whole plan. I ruined my diet. Fuck it. I might as well just keep going. So then Friday night binge, Saturday night binge, Sunday night binge, and then you finally get back on track Monday with this over-restrictive plan. It's exhausting. It's very, very, very exhausting. And again, I've worked with people through this process, and I know firsthand how exhausting it is. Don't set yourself up to have that failure. Do not label foods good and bad. A calorie is just a unit of measurement. That's what food is. So if an apple has 100 calories and a donut has 100 calories, they're both 100 calories. And as long as you're in a calorie deficit, you are going to lose body fat. Now, of course, the apple may be more nutritious. The apple may have more fiber. It's going to fill you up more. The donut may not have as much fiber. It won't fill you up as much, but it doesn't mean it's going to make you fat. You can still have it and lose weight. They both have different things that go about them. But they're still a calorie. And as long as you are in a calorie deficit, you will lose body fat. So, number one, please stop labeling foods good and bad. This is one of the biggest things I can tell you when it comes to helping your binge eating habits. Number dos, you need to eat breakfast. One of the biggest things that I've seen make a huge difference in people's journey when it comes to binge eating, especially at nighttime, is they're not eating breakfast. So let's just go over what might happen if you don't eat breakfast. And again, I know that maybe you're very busy, maybe you're not hungry in the morning, maybe you have an insanely busy morning, the kids are getting ready, you got to get ready for work, you got to take the dog out. So many things are happening. Maybe you wake up very, very, very early and work out, and then you go to work after that. So many things could be going on in the morning. I totally understand, but let's talk about it. Let's say the last time you eat is at 8 o'clock, is 7, 8 o'clock at night, okay? Let's say you wake up at 6 or 7 o'clock and you do not eat breakfast. Let's just go 7 to 7. Last time you ate was 7 p.m., then you're gonna wake up at 7 a.m. That's 12 hours of not having food, which, by the way, your body runs off calories. So it's 12 hours of not having food. It's a 12-hour fast, essentially, because you haven't eaten from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Then you don't eat breakfast. So let's say you go until lunch. Let's say you keep going until lunch and you eat around noon. So now it's an extra 5 hours, right? So you have now had 17 hours of not eating food. So that's a long period of time for your body not to have food. So probably when you get to lunchtime, you're probably pretty hungry because you haven't had anything yet. And even if you did have something very, very small, it probably wasn't a lot, right? So you get to lunchtime, you haven't had anything for 17 hours, you're probably gonna have a big lunch because you're probably pretty hungry. So you're gonna eat that big lunch, and then what's gonna happen? If you eat around 12 or 1, you're probably not gonna be very hungry until, let's say, 5 or 6 p.m. because, again, you had a big lunch. And you think this is good because you're not eating a lot throughout the day. We're gonna keep going and keep with me here. You get to around noon, you eat your big lunch, and then you don't eat again until 5 p.m. And let's say you have dinner at 7 p.m. Well, now in a 24-hour span, you've really only had one meal in your body, which was that lunch. Maybe you had a snack here and there, maybe something else, and we're gonna talk about snacking here in a second, but you've only had one big nutritious meal. It's not that much food. Your body it needs calories, it needs food, and it's going to find it one way or the other. So if you are not eating breakfast and you're not getting protein in, you're not getting any nutrient-dense foods in, well, what's gonna happen? If you don't eat during the day, your body is going to be hungry at night, and your body's gonna get calories in somehow. So when nighttime rolls around, 5, 6, 7, 8 p.m., if you have only eaten 300 calories, 400 calories, 500 calories all day, you're gonna be starving. And you're gonna be very tired, you're gonna be very hungry. So when you get home from work and you have dinner ready and all these things, you're tired, you're hungry, you're stressed. If you're tired, hungry, and stressed, and very low energy, I guess that's tired, hungry, and stressed, you get home, what's gonna happen? You're probably gonna not stick to your diet very well, and you're probably gonna binge eat because you're tired, hungry, and stressed. That's like the perfect cocktail for binge eating at night because you have not given your body fuel throughout the day in order to allow yourself to be in a good place when you get home at dinner or when dinner time rolls around or when nighttime rolls around. If you eat more during the day, you are not going to need as big of a dinner or as many snacks at night. One of the biggest things people try to tell me is, well, Eric, that's when I'm hungry. I'm hungry at nighttime. You're hungry at nighttime because you don't eat during the day, and you're snacking all day long because you're not having any meals. I guarantee you these two things. If you eat breakfast, you are going to eat less throughout the day. And if you eat good quality meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, if you eat bigger quality meals, your need for snacking is going to magically disappear because you're giving your body the nutrients it needs in order to function well, function optimally, function properly. So those are the two biggest things. And so in terms of how to fix this, number one, you gotta make eating breakfast a non-negotiable. It has to happen. I know that you may be busy, I know all these things, but I'm not saying have a gourmet meal. Listen, if you wanna have something as simple as a protein shake and a piece of fruit, that probably takes you 16 seconds to make. You put some water in the shaker, you put the protein powder in, or maybe you have a pre-made thing, you drink the protein, you have a banana. Awesome. That takes 18 seconds for you to make. Maybe it's an egg white omelet. Maybe it's you make food the night before and put it in the microwave and microwave for a minute. I don't know what it is for you, but you need to make eating breakfast a non-negotiable because that is going to help you so tremendously with your binge eating at night. I've done it with so many of my clients. It's a non-negotiable for us. We have to have breakfast. We have to get something. And again, if you wake up at 6, but your first meal isn't until 9, have a protein shake at 6. Have some kind of protein, and if you want to, have some kind of carb. Have some kind of protein and carb within 30 minutes to 60 minutes of waking up. I promise you, it is going to help you. Which brings me to my third point, number 3. A lot of the times, people binge eat at night because they're not getting quality protein, enough protein in during the day. And protein is by far one of the most, if not the most, under-consumed nutrient in probably all of the world. Because, let's face it, it's very hard to just walk around with a warm chicken breast in your pocket all day long, right? Protein is harder to find and harder to get and harder to prepare than, say, a piece of fruit or, say, some rice or, say, a cookie or, say, something in a package. You can't really just put a lot of protein in a Lay's chip container, right? So protein's hard to get, I understand. Number one, I'll say, I'll put a picture here. I'll also put the link for my article down here below in the description. I wrote an article on the 5 best ways to get more protein in your diet throughout the day. And again, they're very do these things today and it will help you. So feel free to go read that article. But getting protein during your day, if there's, again, these are kind of in a order of hierarchy. Number 1 is gonna be stop labeling foods good and bad. Number 2 is gonna be eat breakfast. And number 3 is gonna be getting protein. Getting enough protein. What protein does for you is It's the most satiating nutrient. So what that means is you are going to feel full. You're going to feel satisfied. It's going to help with cravings. One of the biggest things people tell me is like, I can't get control of my sugar cravings. And I'm like, how much protein a day are you eating? I don't know, 47 grams. I'm like, well, that's why you're having sugar cravings, because what protein is going to do is, number one, yes, it's going to fill you up, but every cell function in your body needs protein. It's not just for building muscle, it's for every single cell in your body. So if your body does not have adequate protein, it's going to say, hey, we need some quick energy because we don't have what we need in order to do our function. So, hey, body, brain, quick energy. What is quick energy? Sugar. That's where your sugar cravings are coming from, because you are not getting enough protein in during your day. So your body tells you, hey, I need quick energy. And what it really wants is protein, but how your body and brain processes it is, hey, I need sugar because I need quick energy. If you would give your body protein instead, it would not only stop the sugar craving, but it would also help you not get sugar cravings again, because so many times we're like, oh my God, well, I have sugar and I just want more and more and more. Well, yeah, because you're never actually getting protein. You're just getting sugar. That energy runs out. You're getting more sugar. Energy runs out, more sugar. You got to get your protein in. That's how you stop the sugar cravings. And again, that leads into, again, piggybacking off our last point. If you don't have enough food during the day, let's say you get to dinner time and you're at 37 grams of protein, and you haven't eaten all day, and you're basically setting yourself up for a binge. Because again, you have very little food and very little protein. So when you get to dinner time in the nighttime, your body's gonna need calories somehow. It has to get them to survive, and you're gonna be very hungry, a lot of cravings, very tired, and this is what's gonna happen. So if you have 37 grams of protein going into dinner time, I mean, again, you're probably just setting yourself up to overeat and have a binge at night. So what you have to do, again, you got to make it non-negotiable. You have to eat more protein during your day. And again, feel free to go read that article on how to get more protein. I'm also going to link a video here as well on, I did a video on my top five, or I think it was top 10 or 15 favorite high protein foods. So I would check out those two resources. But again, eating enough protein is going to be by far one of the most important things that is going to help you with your binge eating at night. Making sure, by the time you get to dinner, you should have 100 grams of protein during your day. That's not abnormal to have that. I would say it's beneficial to have that. It's probably abnormal because most people do not eat enough protein, but if you want to help your binge eating, I would say try to get 100 grams of protein before breakfast, before dinner time rolls around. So that's number 3. Number 4 is going to be, you're having too many temptations. And our first rule was, do not label foods good and bad. So I'm not labeling foods good and bad. I'm not saying it's bad. But here's what I will say. Like I said, you only have so much willpower. You have other stress going on in your day. You have your kids, you have your job, you have your workouts, you have your spouse, you have other responsibilities going on, right? So you only have so much willpower in a day for everything, for your kids, for your spouse, for your diet, for your workouts, for everything. So at some point, that willpower is going to run out. And what I tell all my online coaching clients is, listen, do an audit of what's in your house. Do an audit of what's in your house, what's in your cabinet, what's in your house, and what's on your counter. Those 3 things. Because again, if you have nothing but cookies all over the kitchen counter, and you have your favorite peanut butter stored away, and where a place you see it every single time you go into the kitchen, because your living room's by your kitchen, so you see it every single time, and your counter is always filled with all these treats, and you got donuts for the kids, it's going to make it that much harder for you to stick to your diet. So you have to first and foremost recognize the temptations that are going to be around you. And how to fix this could be, number 1, again, simply doing an audit. So if your kitchen counter is filled with all the treats that you love a lot, put them away. Put them out of sight, put them out of mind, put them in the top cabinet if you can't reach it. Do something with them other than just have them out ready to go every single time you step into the kitchen. I can tell you firsthand, if I have something on my counter, while I'm cooking my food, while I'm waiting for my food to heat up, I'm probably gonna eat it just because it's right there. So if it's right there, again, willpower. You gotta get it away. Get it off your desk at work. Get the temptations out of sight, out of mind. You can also do things like, instead of buying a whole pack of Oreos, buy a little single pack where it has 4 Oreos. This way, again, you're limiting the amount of food you can intake at one time, because there's only so much in that one pack. And again, I guess you could buy 20 packs of those, but you'll already probably be conscious of having less temptations in the house. And you know what? The third thing, and I've done this for some of my clients. Sometimes you might just have to say, hey, For 3 weeks, I am not having peanut butter in this house. I'm just not doing it because I know I can't control myself. And I've done that with some of my clients. I've said, hey, this food, you're not buying it. You are not having it in the house. Do not have it in the house. Don't buy it. And they don't. And of course, I guess, again, you could go out and buy food, but 9:30 at night, you could go buy a jar of peanut butter, but you got to work at 5 a.m. the next day, so you're much less likely to do that, right? So controlling temptations and working to, control them as much as you can, it's going to help you that much more because you only have so much willpower. So getting temptations out of the equation is going to help you that much more. And again, where my head goes is more like, you could buy a different pack of chips where you don't like them as much. If like those salt and sweet vinegar chips, like I know I crush those, buy the fucking Rancho Cucamonga ones or whatever, I don't know what they are, but buy a different flavor. That way it's not gonna, have a lot of temptation towards you. It won't require so much willpower to not eat them. So temptations, look at them, audit them, and from there I promise it'll probably help you out. And the last one, number 5, your routine. We're all creatures of habit. We all have routines. If your routine looks like wake up early, don't eat a lot throughout the day, don't eat protein, get to nighttime, have dinner, sit on the couch, watch Netflix for 2 or 3 hours, and then go to bed. If that's what your routine is looking like, I'm not saying it's bad because, again, we all need time to decompress from work and you have a stressful job. I totally understand. But if that's what it looks like, it's going to be much easier to binge eat at night. Why? Because again, like sitting in front of the TV and watching Netflix is a mindless thing, and it's probably what you want because I understand your work is very hectic and your kids are very hectic and you have a lot of things going on, but it's very mindless. So it's easy for you to just sit there and eat and eat and eat and eat and watch and watch and watch and watch and eat and eat and eat and watch and watch and watch. You probably put on some loose-fitting clothing, you get into your pajamas, and you just go lay down, eat, and watch TV. If you take actions to change that, it's probably going to change your eating because, for example, if you make it mandatory, you have to, let's just say, stretch for 5 minutes. Cool, you're doing something mindful. You're mindfully stretching. Let's say you have to take 5 minutes to plan out your next day, something I love doing with my clients. Take 5 minutes while you're sitting there watching Netflix, whatever, and plan out what your day is going to look like the next day, whether it's going to be, what meetings you have, what time you're going to eat, what foods you're going to eat, where you're going to eat lunch at, what the kids have to do. Just plan your day out. Again, it's something mindful. It could be 5 minutes of journaling. I do this with a lot of my clients as well. Taking time to journal. How did that day go? How did you feel? Journal your thoughts, journal your feelings, journal your, how your diet went, journal how your workout went. Journal something to keep you mindful, because a lot of times, again, what happens, especially at night, you get into this mindless boredom, whatever it is, snacking and just overeating, and it's like you can't control it, but that's because you're being very mindless of it. You're not being very mindful because you're just kind of like detaching from the world, getting into your pajamas, getting on the couch, watching Netflix, getting your favorite snacks, and just sitting there and vegging out, which again, I understand and I totally adhere, and I'm not saying don't do that, but if you want to help yourself that much more, try to change up your routine, whether it's workout at night or like I said, whether it's adding in journaling or adding in planning or adding in stretching or adding in something that is going to be mindful and is going to make you be aware of the actions you are taking to not just sit there and veg out and eat all night long. I want to end with journaling, and I touched on journaling in point number 5, but journaling is something I've seen help a lot of my clients tremendously with their binge eating, whether it's for whatever reason it is, whether it's boredom eating, whether it's stress eating, whether it's emotional eating. And again, I'm not a therapist or a mental health professional, but I will say I've seen journaling make a huge difference in people's lives. And this is because when you take time to journal, and you probably are, if you haven't ever journaled, you're probably thinking it's like hippy dippy. You're like, what am I going to write about? What is going on? I thought that too, but when I saw it in action, when I started doing it myself, I realized, oh, holy crap, like this makes a big difference. So when you take time to journal, what happens is, a lot of times what happens is in our own heads, we get all in our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions, everything, right? So you're always in your own head. It's almost like when you tell your best friend or your spouse something like, hey, this happened at work. It's going to sound crazy, but it's like, well, why does it sound crazy when you say it out loud, but it doesn't sound crazy in your head? That's because, your brain works in emotional and logical side of things, right? There's two sides. When you take time to journal your thoughts, journal how you're feeling, journal what happened that day, journal how you're feeling with your diet, journal, you have to make this logical side of your brain work and operate. And normally what happens when you do that is you're much more mindful of the things you are doing. So for example, for a few of my clients that I've done this with, I say, hey, if you feel like you're gonna binge or if you feel like something's gonna happen, totally fine. Set a 5-minute timer. Literally set a timer on your phone, set a 5-minute timer and just journal. Journal about what's going on, journal about how you feel, journal about what food you're gonna eat, journal about how you're gonna feel during, journal about how you're gonna feel after, all of it. Because what's going to happen is you are going to have to make the logical side of your brain work, and you're going to have to be mindful of the decisions you make from that point forward. After those 5 minutes, you are mindful and in control of the decisions you make moving forward. So one of the biggest things I could probably leave you with is if you have not tried journaling, I would very, very, very much encourage it. On top of the 5 things we listed here, I would strongly encourage you to at least dabble into journaling. If you want like kind of like a structured way to do it. Some people like having structure, some people like just journaling their thoughts. I think both can work. I normally prefer doing like a structure at first. So myself, for example, when I journal, I like to have how did my day go? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, did I win the day? Was I able to, how was my mood? How was my workout? How was my sleep? How was my productivity? I just have those like, a list of 1 to 10. I just kind of check off whatever it was. And then, I'll have a little 1 or 2 sections of like, what was really good today? What could I improve upon? And that's basically what my journaling looks like. So it could look different for you, but if you want some kind of template, that could be something you could possibly go to. So I would say if you have not tried journaling, it could be something incredibly, incredibly helpful for you. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was somewhat helpful for you. If you think this video can help somebody else that you know, feel free to send this to them because I want to be able to help as many people as I possibly can. Because again, I've seen people work through this issue. I'm going to put a quote from one of my clients here. She sent me this in a check-in in one of our emails a few weeks ago. But she is living proof that, and I want to put this here because she's living proof that you can do this. I know it may seem very daunting. I know it may seem very overwhelming at times. I know it may seem tough and incredibly difficult and you're not in control. I want you to have this as an example to leave you with, that you can do this. And just like she did, you can, become binge free and you can get control of your eating habits and you can get control of your overeating. It is possible. That's the one thing I want to leave you with is it is possible. I promise you can do this. All right, so any questions, concerns, let me know down below. If you enjoyed this style of video, I know if you normally follow my channel, I do not have my whiteboard, so I just kind of put my camera up and I just kind of started shooting this video. So if you like this kind of style of video, let me know. But other than that, guys, thank you for watching and we'll look to talk soon.